I just remember thinking, oh my God, what is this girl from Mount Clemens doing here?
People often look at prodigies and simply want to be astounded.
I'm the baddest little cab driver in Detroit. Did I give you my card?
Hello and welcome to First Block. To be honest, this show is something of an experiment. We want to introduce you to some people we think you'll find fascinating because of how they think and what they're creating right here in Metro Detroit. Devin Skillian got to know the young assistant conductor working with Maestro Leonard Slatkin at the Detroit Symphony. Will Jones has the story of a woman who traded a career in the headlines for one behind the wheel of a taxi. But let's start with a photographer who undertook a massive project with some of the world's biggest celebrities. Her name is Jenny Risher.
I spent 16 years in New York doing fashion photography, editorials, advertising, and through working in New York, I met Veronica Webb. She's a fellow Detroiter, really iconic supermodel from the 90s. And I said to her, wouldn't it be so cool if I did a book on Detroit, but all the amazing people that have come out of Detroit, maybe do portraits and interviews, and of course being a good friend, she said, you know, it's a great idea. The original wish list was about 100 people, I would say. Matt and I actually did 70 interviews, Matt Lee, my co-author, but then we pared it down to 50 because we really wanted to give like a nice range of people that we thought would make a nice portrait of the city. My first email were fashion people because that's what I know is fashion, so I contacted John Varvatos, Anna Sui, and a couple other people, and they all said yes. And then from there, John helped me get like Iggy Pop and Alice Cooper, and then they helped me get some people. So, you know, I had some momentum because they're Detroiters and they love their city. So they were willing to help me with this project and they believed in it. I made the choice to photograph them on a black or white background is because I really wanted it to seem as if they were speaking in a room, like we were in this room together and the conversation we were having was on Detroit. To me, honestly, I thought like if I couldn't get Berry Gordy, then I didn't have a book. Because really, I mean, can you imagine Detroit without the name Motown? As soon as he said yes, we're like, we're coming out there so you don't change your mind. We photographed him at his pool house in Beverly Hills. So he came down from the house and I just remember thinking, oh my God, what is this girl from Mount Clemens doing here in Beverly Hills? He just has such a charismatic spirit. I just turned on some Motown music. I think it was Smokey Robinson. And he just started singing and dancing to his music. And for me, that was really the essence of Berry Gordy, is that fun spirit. I photographed Holland Dozier Holland, and I had told them, like, I'm really having a hard time getting Smokey Robinson. His manager won't call me back. I can't get through to him. And he's like, well, Smokey's gonna be at this party. Come to this party. And so I get all dressed up, go to this party, and here comes walking over to me, Smokey Robinson. And he was so nice. He's like, I'm so sorry you've been having trouble getting a hold of me, but I'm really interested in your book. When can we do it? I think the person that intimidated me the most was Eminem, just because it took me 2 years to get a shoot date with him. And it was a lot of back and forth emails and literally like 2 years worth of daily emails. But I definitely was sweating a little bit. I was nervous just because I only had 15 minutes and I wanted the shot. On photo shoots, a way for me to calm my nerves is to talk, so I just keep talking. So I just told them about everybody in the book. Of course, I had done research on him, so I knew that he trained with Emanuel Stewart. So I just talked about photographing Emanuel at Kronk and Mel Farr, who doesn't love Mel Farr. Just talked about Mel Farr and some other people in the book. Halfway through, I started panicking because I didn't have a publisher at the time. I think after I photographed Lee Iacocca, I started panicking because I'm like, oh my gosh, I just told Lee Iacocca I'm gonna make a book and I don't have a book, In the beginning, Tim Allen was like, no funny faces. I'm just doing serious faces. So we did the serious ones, and then I'm like, all right, let's just do a couple fun ones. So he just totally went into Tim Allen mode and did all these incredible faces. You know what's funny? I bought a blue sweater because much like the George Clinton wig, that's what he's known for, the blue sweater. So we went to like all these thrift shops to find like a blue sweater, and I found one. But thankfully, Jack Kevorkian wore his, so that was even better. Iggy Pop's manager, you know, they tour a lot overseas in Europe, and they're like, well, we're coming to Boston, we'll be here this certain date, you can come shoot after the show. So, you know, Iggy Pop goes on stage, you know, he looks awesome, his hair is great. And then during the show, he proceeds to like pour water on himself and cut himself, and I'm thinking, oh my God, like my picture. But actually it was the best scenario because he looks really authentic in his picture, and his manager the whole time was like, I'll give you 15 minutes. And then after the show, Iggy arrives and he's like, you have 10 minutes. Our common bond was Detroit, and if you've ever met anybody from Detroit, no matter where you are in the world, there's this instant connection. I photographed Ted Nugent at his ranch in Michigan, and we just, you know, did it in his garage. I never really heard guitar before until I heard Ted Nugent play. I mean, he can sing through his guitar. I rented that George Clinton chair in New York, and my father and I drove it here to Detroit. In the meantime, I'm making a wig while my dad's driving. When I photographed Martha Reeves, I had done a lot of research on her beforehand, and you know, she's very energetic, and you could hear it in the music and the voice, and I wanted her portraits to just feel like her, you know, just to be exciting and fresh and just have that soulful energy. In doing this book, I just realized how important it is to give back to the community. So we decided we would donate a portion of the profits from the sale of the book to Focus Hope, which is this great organization within Focus Hope that teaches diversity through photography. What's most exciting to me, and what I really didn't anticipate, is all the international orders we've received. Like, we've received orders from Russia, from Japan, from China, from Germany, I mean Spain. Like, all these people are so interested and curious about Detroit. I think what really unites Detroiters, or at least the people that participated in this book, is they all started from humble beginnings. You know, they all started by just working hard. I think Jerry Bruckheimer said it best, you know, the harder you work, the luckier you get. These Detroiters really have a passion, and they went for it, and to me, like, that's really the spirit of Detroit.
Here, I'm just a block away from Orchestra Hall, home to a conductor so accomplished, it's hard to believe he's so young. Plus, the self-described baddest little cab driver in Detroit, ahead on First Block.
First Block is brought to you in part by your Southeast Michigan Ford dealers. Visit thinkfordfirst.com.
One of the newest residents of Detroit is actually a transplant from Northern California who came here via Miami and Budapest, and he now makes his office here at the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. Assistant conductor Teddy Abrams is just 26 years old, and he's wrapping up his first season with the DSO. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Like most prodigies, even though he's only in his 20s, Teddy's story actually starts decades ago.
I also do a lot of like improv, just straight up improv.
Oh, sure.
That's completely my own.
Cool.
What do you want me to do?
Well, if it was, I guess it does need a suggestion.
Maybe some kind of suggestion.
The thing is, Teddy Abrams doesn't really need a suggestion. When music is your life, it tends to knock around in your head, just waiting to pour out. Teddy is a composer. He plays clarinet and piano with his group Sixth Floor Trio. But it was conducting that captured the imagination of a young boy who already showed immense musical talent.
I decided when I was 9 that I wanted to be a conductor, actually. It was after my first concert that I saw. I've told a lot of people in Detroit the story, but when I was in San Francisco, I went to a free outdoor concert of all Gershwin played by the San Francisco Symphony. And as soon as I saw that performance, I mean, right then and there, probably after the first couple notes, I decided I wanted to be a conductor. That had to be my life.
Full value quarter, full value quarter.
Age 9 may sound young to start down a career path, but Teddy's musical aptitude and appetite actually began much earlier.
When I started playing piano, I was just drawn to the instrument at age 3.
Staccato G's.
I like to go over to the piano and with no training, just kind of improvise and make up stuff. I'm sure it sounded dreadful, but the fact is I was attracted to the instrument itself.
By 3rd grade, Teddy gravitated toward another instrument.
I wanted to play the saxophone. I was all set and ready to go with saxophone, except turned out that my hands were too small for the saxophone, so clarinet it was. Saxophone was cool back then. That was the Bill Clinton saxophone era, so everyone wanted to play that. That was the cool instrument. But I was a smaller kid, still a smaller guy, but a smaller kid then. And clarinet, though, just had some kind of hold over me. And while other kids were still struggling to make horrendous squeaks out of their instruments after the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th week of playing, for whatever reason, I don't really have an explanation for it other than it just was something that clicked. I was able to be playing through pieces quite quickly.
He skipped high school and went to music conservatory, an accelerated childhood not unfamiliar to the musically gifted.
There's actually this lovely Mozart piece that I always use as an example. It's a piece he wrote when he was 5 years old. And it's perfectly happy, lovely music, except there's one chord that's just so touching and moving and sad, and the music stops right there. That as a 5-year-old, to have this sensibility, this ability to reach out emotionally beyond what he should know, that's the kind of musical talent that you could assign the word prodigy to. Perfectly nice. And here, who would come up with that as a 5-year-old? And then it just ends perfectly happily.
It's so funny that you're willing to move past the fact that he wrote the rest at age 5, because for most of us, that is already, that's an astonishing accomplishment to begin with.
It is,
But you're right. The nuance of a minor key that just sort of comes out of nowhere in there is astonishing.
It's an amazing move to make.
I'm going to guess Detroit was not on your radar when you started your path.
The city itself was not exactly a place that I would have seen myself. If you'd asked me a couple of years ago, where am I going to end up living? What is my life going to look like? It just was not on the radar.
But the Detroit Symphony was definitely on the radar, and Teddy is now at home in the city, a short walk away from work. Proximity is essential because Teddy doesn't drive.
Funny thing that I noticed is that everybody I met that lives here, that has made Detroit their home, really likes it.
Yeah.
I didn't see all these hordes of people trying to leave.
You are the kind of person that Detroit has been wanting to attract to, the creative class, your age, your cultural ambition and outlook. You've been here now about half a year, though. Do you feel like you're a part of this sort of movement that's occurring in Midtown, not just at the Orchestra Hall, but living here?
Absolutely. When I first got this job here, I obviously had a lot of questions. What's the state of the orchestra? What's the financial state of the orchestra? What's the city going to be like? I remember I was mulling over the situation, and I got a phone call from a good friend of mine, and he said, "I heard you got this position. This is incredible, because Detroit is maybe the most exciting city in the United States right now." When I thought about it and took a step back and looked at what was really happening here, I could not agree more. And I love bringing friends here, bringing other artists out here from different cities and showing them around, because they're always as amazed as I am as to both the kind of like stupefyingly strange stuff that you might see here and the frightening things, and then the amazing development that's happening. And that's the time you want to be in a place.
You do actually have a chance to come in here and create a shadow. And in New York, good luck with that.
We're building this city, not from a cultural level. Probably many people are doing it on a structural level. But from my perspective, we have the opportunity to actually create the new Detroit culture, to bind it together, and anything seems possible, which is, I mean, that's very attractive for an artist.
And it's very hard to find.
It's very hard to find in an established American city.
Yeah, that's right. You can't.
Part of his mission is to bring new musical experiences to younger, wider audiences.
This particular program is one that we've actually done a number of times. I think 6 times, maybe 7 times already. So it's quite familiar to us.
I think that people are scared to come to the concert hall if they don't come regularly. Everybody has the right to feel however they want about every single piece of music that we play. First of all, just because we play it doesn't mean that it's necessarily good objectively, or that they have to love it. Everybody has the right to make decisions for themselves about what the music means.
Do you know those people playing? I am one of them.
You are one of them?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
One of them is me.
How about you?
Yes, I play and conduct. Yeah. Yeah, it's very hard.
I always say that conducting is not like train conducting. It's not starting and stopping the train and telling people when to get on and off. But it's also not like being some kind of overlord of the orchestra. You're not the dictator-in-chief of the orchestra at all. My view of conducting is that it's actually like conducting energy. And if you could see the light spectrum of energy that moves in an orchestra, you'd see this web, like a spider web almost, of energy that goes between every single person who's in that orchestra. And you'd see it light up. And as a conductor, my role is to focus that. My role is to make sure that that energy flows in the best way possible. You're trying to use your ears to take in as much sound as possible. You're trying to delineate the sounds of 100 musicians all at the same time and compare that to all the knowledge that you've stored inside your brain about the music, about the background of the music, about the backgrounds of the individuals, and this, I mean, ridiculous amount of data. And so what happens is your brain suddenly goes into overdrive. It's easy to conduct. Anybody can do it. What's hard is to lead. Anybody can beat time, but not anybody can actually unify musicians that they can play their absolute best.
Clearly wise well beyond his years, Teddy gets to conduct his first subscription concert for the DSO this fall. Now, not driving may be an anomaly around these parts, but believe it or not, cab culture is starting to grow in Detroit. Our Will Jones recently spent time with Onita the cab driver, one of the most fascinating women around with opinions on just about everything. She used to share them in the newspaper. Well, now you'll have to hail her taxi to get her take on life, and that's next on First Block.
First Block is brought to you in part by your Southeast Michigan Ford dealers. Visit thinkfordfirst.com.
Ask anyone who knows Onita Jackson, and that's a lot of people. They'll tell you it's never a quiet moment when Onita's around. There was a time when anyone could read her opinions in her O Street column in the Detroit Free Press and her popular blog. Then something happened on this bridge that led Onita toward what some call an unusual career choice, but she says is her second dream.
You never know what might happen when Onita Jackson is around. I learned that right away.
I've never gotten this before, thank you.
Loosen up, loosen up.
Most people don't throw a party to commemorate an event that probably wasn't their finest hour.
Hey, y'all!
Onita is not most people. She came to Detroit 12 years ago at age 32 and with a young son in tow for a free press internship. The move made sense to the Howard University English major who treasures the written word.
Semicolons are serious, okay? I'm getting a semicolon tattoo.
If on writing well is the Bible, then Onita is a disciple and an evangelist.
Cattle, okay? We raise questions like cattle, got it? Questions are raised, not begged. my work here is finished. I'm gone.
Oneida guest lectures to English classes like this one at Wayne State. She shares her journey from intern to copy editor to columnist, satirist, social commentator, and beyond.
I'm taking time out of cab driving right now to do a lecture. I'm a freaking cab driver.
Walks to Belle Isle often help her gather her thoughts.
Let's talk about your outfit. What do you have on here?
Oh, I'm wearing Via Speaker coat and Oneida Jackson scarf, but I think you really wanted to talk about my checker socks, right?
Spend even a few minutes with Oneida and it becomes clear she has her own style in just about every way.
Let's talk about what you're kind of known for around town.
As a cab driver.
Park bench, and you had a pen,
Mother.
and you wrote your name, and it was caught on camera.
Kinda. It was captured, not caught.
Okay.
Oh, you want to know about me and my green pen?
I want to know about the green pen.
The green pen incident happened May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, 2010, when Oneida still worked for the newspaper.
I was at a public event, the grand opening of the Bagley Pedestrian Bridge, and I wrote my name on a bench in green pen.
For what?
Because I reverted to my childhood. Yeah, I'm a grown woman, but I'm a big kid. People who know me are like, a lot of people are like, okay, that sounded like Oneida. But what happened was there was an MDOT camera there, and I exist in my own world, in my own head. So a lot of times when I was writing, or when I do write, it's just me writing. I mean, I wasn't writing, going around writing as, oh, I'm a columnist writing. I just see things strike me, as you asked me before, just write. And I write, and write, and write, and write. And there was an end-out camera standing right there. And when I looked up, I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. But what I did not know, the camera kept following me. Apparently, there was people who were spray painting the beautiful bridge all over, and the Detroit News was doing a story on it.
The O Street column was temporarily suspended, and Oneida started editing again. She quit the Free Press late last year to observe Metro Detroit from a new vantage point, the driver's seat of a checkered cab.
Well, I think there's sometimes something to smile about, so I'm glad it's sunshiny and not pouring down rain. How's that?
I'd rather have rain.
You know what? I'm gonna sit up here and be quiet is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna drive this cab.
Yeah, Michigan needs to rain.
Oh, it's gonna rain. Oh, it's going to rain. It is Detroit. There'll be plenty of rain. And I want you to think of me so when it rains.
Driving a taxi in Detroit means the woman who already knows just about everyone meets even more people, and there is no telling who the next fare may be. But driving can also be trying and tough. The first question people often ask is, do you feel safe?
We all know the risks. Cab driving is one of the most dangerous jobs. 4 cab drivers have been killed since I began driving 7 months ago. That ain't cool.
Not
you
cool
don't want
at all.
to. No. And I can take you through the 4, okay? The first one was 2 weeks after I started driving. The second one, 2 weeks later, I was in tears. I woke up, breaking news, Channel 4, a cab driver has been killed. I lost it. I lost it completely. One of my brethren had been killed. I lost my mind. The third one, I was about to take somebody out. But this last one, now I'm going to see the mayor. He knows who I am. I'm going to see somebody, because you know what I need? I need police officers on the streets. I'm a cab driver and I see what's going on in the streets. When I go to New York, back to my second home, nothing but police officers, all right? Police presence is a deterrent, all right? Some customers miss the bus and don't have money to take a cab, right? So they don't tip. This is not a commentary on tipping. It's a commentary on if public transportation worked better, all right? They wouldn't have to get in my cab. That's not making me sad. It's me wishing and embracing and identifying with them, because I used to take the bus too. And in real cities, yes, real cities, public transportation works well.
Hold up. Who tried to holler? Who asked me if I dated white dudes? Yeah, it was you?
Yeah.
Okay, you didn't call me.
Well, not yet. Well, I didn't want to, I didn't want to be overbearing,
As soon as you got the yes, that was your cue to proceed, man. I said yes.
So back to that party. Oneida throws a Cinco de Mayo bash every year, in part to mark the anniversary of her green pen learning experience.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Party on, dudes.
And because a couple careers aren't enough, Onita designed a t-shirt that allows Detroiters to check themselves. Casual wear as commentary, of course.
Writing a column, I was really angry about this idea. Oh, I'm from Grosse Ile. Oh, I'm from Grosse Pointe. Oh, I'm from Farmington. The idea behind the shirt is we're all Detroiters. And I'm specifically speaking about people who consider themselves Detroiters. If you don't, the shirt's not for you. But it doesn't matter where you're from, we're all Detroiters. And that was the idea. And that shirt does really well.
Okay, thank you.
What do you want people to take away from you when they get out of your cab?
When people get out of my cab, they've gotten the best cab ride. First of all, you don't have a cab ride. When you get in my cab, you have an experience, okay?
Onita is writing a book based on the stories she gathers driving her cab. I've been in Detroit for about 6 months now. I know, it's a complicated region, but sometimes the stories of a few individuals can bring out the beauty of a complex and colorful place. Thanks for watching First Block.